Welcome to the Asset Revolution podcast, where each week your hosts from Arbor Digital provide educational opportunities for financial advisors and individual investors to gain knowledge in this emerging powerhouse that is digital asset investing. The Asset Revolution podcast is your connection to the future of digital assets and an opportunity for anyone to get off zero. Let's dive in. All right, everybody, welcome back to the most recent edition of the Asset Revolution podcast, where we review and go over what is revolutionary and evolutionary about digital assets, crypto assets, and Web3. Today, I am very excited because I have a very special guest, Sharon Yip, who is co-founder and CEO of Polygon Advisory Group, which is a crypto tax firm, as well as traditional tax services, I believe. But she brings a wealth of knowledge and experience in the traditional world now over to the crypto economy, helping investors, developers, or anybody engaging in this space keep taxes in mind when they're doing transactions and out there in that crypto world. So Sharon, thank you so much for being here.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Great. And just a full disclosure, this is part of a launch of a specific partnership between Polygon Advisor and Arbor Digital, where we are now going to be using Polygon Advisor Group as a way to deliver tax advice and tax planning strategies to clients who need it. Since, as many of you know, we are not at Arbor Digital tax advisors or CPAs. We needed to bring on the experts who were. So Sharon, I would love for you to kind of start off this episode, though, giving the audience a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I guess I can tell a little bit about my whole life story, hopefully real quick. So I grew up in Hong Kong, and actually my undergrad degree is in music. Has nothing to do with accounting. And then a few years after I graduated from college, I moved to the US to get married. And then I found out that, of course, I couldn't find a job here. And then I decided to go back to school, and somehow I picked accounting because when I was in Hong Kong after college, I did a job that has something to do with accounting, and I was interested in it. But anyway, long story short, I got into the master program at the West Virginia University, but I couldn't finish. I had to redo all the undergrad accounting courses. And then I moved to the DC area, and then I took the CPA exam, and luckily I passed it the first time, and I got a job with a CPA firm here in the Washington, DC area. That's how I started my career. And since then, I have been doing pretty much all tax-related services. And I did change my job a few times. I moved to a bigger second-tier accounting firm when I was a senior. I got promoted to manager, and then I wanted to even get a better experience. So I moved to a big four firm, Deloitte actually, and I became a senior tax manager there. And I was there for more than 5 years. And then for better work-life balance, and then my daughter was born, and so I decided to leave public accounting, and I went into a corporate. I have 2 jobs in the industry, and the second job, also my last job, I was a tax director, a corporate tax director with a Fortune 500 public company. And then I will have to get into my crypto part. Do you want me to continue with that, or you have any other questions?
No, thank you for sharing. I think it's great to understand kind of your story a little bit prior to your crypto journey. Because, one thing about this podcast I love is bringing on people who have this very robust background and life experience, where their experiences are rooted in you have to be a critical thinker, and you have to be able to be dynamic and go through some adversity and some hardships to harden you up and develop that grit. So, one thing about you that I really love was just your initial story. And it really ties into that in this space. There is a whole range of people like yourself and myself who have these types of backgrounds that are not just crypto bros or the young professionals coming out of college and the Ivies and the biggest universities. We have that real world experience. No, so I think it's very important. I appreciate you doing it. And so you said you're based in DC, and how long did you and when did all this happen? How long have you been in the industry?
Well, so I moved to the US in 1995, I believe, and I became a CPA in 1998. So that's a long, long time ago. So you probably can guess how old I am. I'm pretty old. Uh, and that's the year I moved to the DC area. So I'm in Northern Virginia, but it's the Greater Washington DC area, and I worked in this area since 1998. One thing I forgot to mention is that so because I didn't finish school, I didn't get my accounting degree before. I left there to move to DC area, and then I got my CPA already. So people were telling me that you don't need an accounting degree, but I still just like I don't know if it's my ego or whatever. So I'm like, no, I cannot be someone who's a CPA with no accounting degree. So I decided to go back to school, but I didn't want to give up my job. At that time, I was a tax senior, I believe, in a public accounting firm. Senior is the level that's like the hardest, I can tell you, in public accounting, just because they have to do all the groundwork at the same time, I have to also supervise some staff. And I decided to enroll in a master program. It's MS in accounting, and also it's a tax-focused program. Is called tax consulting at the University of Virginia, which is a very good school. And I was doing a executive format master program when I was still working full-time. So that's a pretty interesting experience because I had to drive 2 hours every week. On Friday, I have to spend all my PTO time in doing the study, driving back and forth to Charlottesville, 2 hours away from where I live, and to finish the whole master program. And it's a very interesting and very good experience for me because I got to learn from fantastic professors at UVA, and I met a lot of people there, and we still have some contact connection even now today. And most of my classmates at that time, they are now all like high-level executives, and some are even Big Four partners, things like that. So it's pretty good memory for me.
Man,
but so I have been in the DC area since 1998.
wow. All of that also while being a mother. I can't
Yes.
like
Well, my daughter
wow.
was born actually 2 years after I graduated from UVA's master program.
Okay.
So I didn't have to have a baby and go to school and have a full-time job at public accounting. That's impossible. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope everyone's listening to that. So for everyone who is doing something like that, just know how hard it is. Oh man, but thank you again for going through that. I'd love to now transition into kind of your crypto journey and start with this before Polygon. Take me through your personal journey into crypto.
Sure. I think the first time I heard about crypto, more specifically Bitcoin, was I think sometime in like 20 maybe 13 around or 14. That's not too long after Bitcoin started, and I got the impression that is at that time it was like the Bitcoin price was less than $1. And so it's very beginning. So I was like, I don't know what this is. And then I read some, on the internet, something in the internet is like people use it more for like dark web or illegal activities. I'm like, ooh, so I had a really bad impression about Bitcoin at that time. But anyway, so I just, didn't pay any more attention. And then in 2017, someone in my network, I think on one of the social media platform, talk about Bitcoin investment, and they're really passionate about that. And they say, hey, do you want to give it a try? This is going back. At that time, Bitcoin was already like priced at several $1,000s. I think it's like about $5,000, something around that. And I started to read more about that. Like, this is interesting. So it doesn't look like Bitcoin is just like something that people use to try to hide, do some illegal activities. And there's something called blockchain behind it. And I got interested. I started to read more. I'm like, okay, maybe give it a try. That's a few months before, the huge bull run near the end of 2017. So I got in. And I started to invest a little bit, and then I realized that, my goodness, the market was going up like crazy. And I started to trade, and then I got kind of like addicted to it. I remember in December that year, I was going to a skiing trip with some friends, and I was like looking at my phone about the price, and I was doing some trading. I remember in one day, I think I traded Ethereum on that particular date. I was like buying at a price, and then I sold it like within the same day, and I earned more than $2,000. So I'm like, whoa, maybe I should just quit my job and do this full time. No, just kidding. But I got very interested, right? And then, of course, the crash came right in early 2018. And I realized, oh my goodness, I think I got a pretty good gain, like more than $50,000 of a gain in 2017 because of the bull run. And then I was like, oh my goodness, I need to report this on my tax return. And I started to look into the requirements for reporting crypto. At that time, the IRS still didn't have much guidance. The only guidance was they issued the first guidance back in 2014. It's the tax notice 2014-21. And so I read that. I'm like, still, yeah, I got a little better understanding, but still not sure how exactly. And I started to search for crypto tax software to use to calculate, because I did have like thousands of transactions in trading and transferring among different accounts. And then I realized that nobody could help me. So I had to figure out everything on my own. And then I started to think, wait a second, if I cannot understand, how about other normal people? I'm a CPA, I'm a tax professional, right? If I can understand, and then at that time, this opportunity there, I was pretty like bored with my job and some personnel change at work. I decided to leave my corporate job, and I started my own solo practice. And I said, this is something I really want to do, because I already have been in traditional tax accounting for almost 20 years. At that time, I'm kind of like, okay, I don't want to keep doing the same thing again and again. And this is something totally new. It's fascinating. So I got into, I read every single day. I participated in a lot of crypto community, like Telegram, all kinds of different channels. So that's how I started. I started in crypto as a crypto investor, a pretty passionate crypto investor myself. And then I got into the professional side just because I realized there's a need for tax professionals who can help people with their crypto taxation.
Yeah, it's so interesting to hear your experience, going through as an investor and then realizing, wait a second, I know my level of knowledge and expertise, and I'm having this much trouble with this, and I can see what isn't available. And then you can just connect the dots and see that there's significant opportunity to help people and serve. And I think that's another thing about you that really made me feel more connected to this partnership that we're gonna announce here shortly, is because we're in the essence of being client-centric and serving people. And so I'd love to use that as the transition now to talk about Polygon. Tell me, you've had this personal journey. So why take all of this? Because this is a big risk to go from this big background that you have and this expertise. You could go to any firm, you could continue your solo practice and be hugely successful. Why go into the crypto space? Tell us what was it for you that said we're going to do this?
Yeah. So I started my solo practice in 2018. And then I never thought about going back to traditional tax and accounting. Actually, some of my peers laughed at me, including, interestingly, my current business partner, Phil. He's also a CPA, but he's more on the traditional side. And at that time, he was not a crypto investor. He was telling me that, I always laugh at him and say that he's like, you are crazy. Crypto is a bubble. It's gonna go away. Be realistic. Find a real job. I'm like, okay. So it sounds like I'm not having a real job. And then so I said, okay, that's fine. I'm still going to do this because I'm truly interested. Like, I feel like almost in my whole life, this is something that fascinated me the most about the whole crypto space, blockchain technology, everything. So I didn't want to go back and do the traditional thing, but many of my crypto clients, they asked me, other than helping them with crypto calculation, also do the traditional tax return preparation. So I said, no, I don't want to do tax return preparation. You can find someone else, and many of them actually at that time were already using a CPA to do their taxes. And then they're like, well, my CPA knows nothing about crypto, so I can't even talk to them. Since you are handling my crypto, do you know how to do the traditional tax return? I mean, of course, that's my whole public accounting background, but I just don't want to go back and do return preparation. So I talked to Phil. I said, hey, Phil, I know you laugh at me for crypto, but can you at least do the tax return preparation? He said, sure. So I said, I don't want to handle that. Can I send all my crypto clients to you? I will give you all the information about the crypto part. You just need to put it on their tax return, and everything else, just the traditional tax return, nothing, different. He said, okay, sure. So I started to kind of like outsource the tax return preparation to him. And then we did that for 2 years. And then we finally realized that, wait a second, why we keep doing this? And at the time, we both were running our own solo practice, and we subscribed to the similar software like project management, accounting, and all the stuff. And then we said, hey, maybe let's just join forces. And by the way, at that time, he already became a crypto investor. I think he started back in 2000, maybe 19. So I always said I brought him to the dark side. So he became a crypto investor himself already in 2019. So near the end of 2020, we decided to join forces and just combine all our clients together and formed Polygon. And so at that time, it's just the two of us. And I was using a contractor I found on Upwork to help me. And then he has also 1 or 2 contractors helping me on a part-time basis. But since then, we grew our firm. So
And what
now
year?
I think
What year was that? What year was that when you guys came
we
together and
formed
started?
Polygon in after the tax season ended in 2020. So it's like late October 2020. And that's also the year that COVID started. So COVID started in the beginning of 2020, and we formed our firm. So we are a 100% virtual firm. All our employees and contractors work from their home, and we have people all over the country and some overseas as well. And at this point, we have about 20 people in our firm. So we have been in business for 2 years, but I think it's a pretty good growth.
Yeah, and I've seen just an explosion. You guys are hiring. I love that all the content that y'all are putting out. So I'd love to now. So it's 2020. You and Phil. I got to bring Phil on the podcast now. I got to hear his story. I got to hear how he was brought to the dark side by you from his from his perspective. But so take me through then the initial stages of when you guys came together. What are the problems that Polygon and use this as today as to what you guys are doing? What are the problems? What are the things that you're seeing that are the problems that you saw that needed solving for, and what do you guys provide to the market?
Yeah, so a lot of problems in the beginning. First, at that time, that's before the whole DeFi entity became crazy. Maybe it's starting, but it's still early on. So the first year, most of our clients still were just like doing mostly the traditional like trading, some and mining, ICOs. We have clients involved in different kind of Bitcoin investment programs. And of course, that's also 2018 was the year that many scams, all those things happen, and a lot of exchange shut down. And so people were scared and confused. And also at that time, still not a lot of official guidance out there. So people had a lot of misunderstanding. When people came to us, many of them already have been doing crypto investment for several years. And so we asked them, hey, how did you report your prior crypto tax? And then they said, no, we didn't. I didn't. And then we are like, why? Well, because I never cash out. I'm like, yeah, I just been trading in crypto. And I heard that as long as you don't cash out, you don't need to report. I'm like, no, that's not the case. And so a lot of myths and misunderstandings circulating on the internet that people believe in, and actually those are wrong. So, and some people came to us because guess what? They received a tax notice from the IRS. And that's when some exchanges, especially Coinbase, started to issue 1099K. Unfortunately, 1099K only provides the gross sales proceed based on your trades. And so it adds up very quickly. Some people came to us saying that, my goodness, I got this 1099K. Or actually, they ignored that 1099K. First of all, they didn't pay attention to it. They didn't download it from their Coinbase account. But of course, the IRS has a copy. So now they got this notice say the IRS is saying that, hey, you owe us like $1 million in taxes. And that what? Yeah, because you got several $1 million of self-employment income. Because why? Because 1099K is for money transactions, right? So the IRS thought this person is running some money business. And so they, in addition to the regular income tax, they also assess this as a self-employment income. So charge that, and of course, then penalty, interest, everything. So they got into trouble. So we have to help them through the whole process, to talk to the IRS and get an extension, and then get them give us all their crypto transaction data, and use a crypto tax software to help them reconcile everything and generate a correct crypto tax report, and then prepare a amended tax return and send it to the IRS with a cover letter, explain, the situation, and then show. And I think in most cases, we are able to either completely write off the whole thing, or in some cases, we were able to say that actually those people, they incur a capital loss, and we were able to show all the detailed calculation, and we filed an amended return for those clients. They actually were able to get money back, like a refund. So that's what we motivate us even more. I say that, oh my goodness, we can really truly help people, because otherwise there's no way for them to defend themselves, because with the tax notice, first they're so scared that, oh my goodness, I'm in big trouble, and they don't know what to do. So yeah, so the problem in the beginning is really a lot of confusion. People don't have the idea how to exactly do it, and then many of them, they went to their CPA. Of course, their CPA, they don't know how to handle this. So that's why we believe that we are in a very unique situation, that we specialize this. And by the way, we chose to specialize in crypto tax and accounting. This is not like our side business, but at the same time, we want to help people and be a one-stop shop, because many of our clients told us, I don't want to go back to our CPA. In the beginning, we said, hey, if you have already been using a CPA, because we don't want to take away business from our peers. But they said, no, it's too much trouble. I don't want to come to you for crypto and then go back to another person for. It is just not working well. So we said, okay, then maybe we should provide a one-stop shop solution. And then some people also need us to help them with their tax planning, advisory. Some, they quit their job and full-time in crypto. Should I form a business, an entity to run it? Then of course the answer is it depends, right? It depends what you're doing, how you're doing, and all the stuff. But we found a lot of value in our service, just because we can truly help people who are desperate in finding help, and they cannot really find it, just because tax accountants currently still very small percentage of them can handle this.
Man, so many of these things ring in my ears, just on the investment side. Y'all are on the tax side and we're on the investment side. And I know in my experience working as a fiduciary financial advisor, for me, even traditional investing, having good partners and good good CPAs and good firms to work with, to help people with not just, basic situations, but, you're kind of middle of the road, and then your very complex situations. It's the same thing here. And that's what we're finding. So a lot of things you're saying is kind of what we experience on the investment side. A lot of times we've had some people come to us and say, hey, you guys do crypto, manage my crypto. But now in the evolution of the relationship, and they see what we do, they're like, wait a second, wait, I have all most of them actually don't have an advisor, but now they also have, some of them do. And they're like, wait a second, why am I doing this? I understand you, I understand the way you think, and we're very proactive. It sounds like you guys are as well. And again, it doesn't sound like I know you are with all the content you guys put out. But I think a couple of the myths, a couple of the mistakes I've seen too, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this, is one, I think the biggest myth I've seen is people who have Coinbase, Gemini, or any centralized exchange as an on-ramp to the crypto economy, which what I mean is going on-chain. That means going onto Ethereum, going onto any other blockchain network, and then living your life digitally, natively there. You then think you're now outside of the purview. But if you use a centralized exchange to on-ramp or off-ramp any type of funds, those are getting reported. And it's a myth that once you're in unregulated crypto economy and you're on chain, that you don't have to keep track of everything. And that's a big mistake we've seen investors. And it's only until after that we get phone calls, not just from individual investors, but I get them from colleagues that I know that are still in the traditional industry over, I'll name a few firms here: Schwab, Fidelity, JP Morgan, where clients are going to their traditional advisors and they're saying, I need help. I didn't realize I was going to be doing this. And it sounds like this is also one of the mistakes that you see a lot of people falling into.
Yeah, that's totally true. So like I said, in earlier years, Coinbase, and I think Kraken was doing that as well. They issued 1099K, which is not the correct type. Like I said, they only showed you the gross receipt, which is very misleading. There's no basis. And now they started to show maybe better information, like compile a tax report. However, unless you are using a single exchange exclusively, you don't do any transfer in and out, or crypto transfers in and out of that account. Otherwise, whatever tax report that you can get from that exchange is guaranteed to be wrong. Why? Because they don't have your correct basis. And they don't know where you send the coins to. So sometimes they treat that as a sell, and while you are just transferring it to your wallet, but the exchange doesn't know that, right? Also for decentralized platforms, including like your blockchain wallets, many people have the misunderstanding, thinking that, oh, well, because there's no registration, I don't have the name attached to the wallet. Nobody knows, and there's you're just like a wallet address, right? But however, the problem is that blockchain is an open ledger. Anybody can look at it. As long as they have your wallet address, they can look at it, and just by the connection of the activities in your wallet, they can trace very easily. The IRS has used some companies, the biggest one being Chainalysis. Chainalysis is a crypto blockchain investigation firm that have been working for the IRS. They scrubbed the blockchain and they gathered a lot of data. So the IRS actually already has a list of people that they know who they are, they know, what kind of transactions they've been doing, and they know whether they reported those transactions on their tax return or not. It's just a matter of when the IRS has the resources. And as you guys already know in the news last year, that they increased their hiring, like 10,000 people of hiring. I think one main reason is for the purpose of going after people in crypto who did not report their crypto transactions or underreport. So this is becoming more and more serious. So if you thought that you don't need to worry about that because nobody can find out, or I can just rely on a crypto exchange's tax report, everything else that's not in the report, I don't need to worry about, that's actually totally wrong.
I think that is a huge takeaway from this podcast already, that if you're listening to this and you think you're getting away with things, or you think that you won't be, especially if you're doing a lot of activity and you're moving around high dollar amounts, these firms are being contracted with. And Chainalysis, yes, I love that you mentioned them, because they not only are going with the IRS, they're with a lot of other regulatory bodies on a global scale. And so that's why Chainalysis is a very important piece to the infrastructure of this whole space. But talk to us a little bit more. It sounds like you have a rich understanding of the blockchain space, not just the centralized space and the traditional tax space. And I guess I would love for you to share more about, when you guys bring on a team, does everyone have to be that verse with blockchain, like reading Etherscan and understanding how to kind of do that investigative work to understand transactions? Like, tell me about the process of hiring and what kind of people you guys have on the team.
Yeah, sure, definitely. So because I personally started as a crypto investor, and I see the importance of that. And also that is also the reason why still many CPAs or tax accountants, they are unwilling or unable to get into this niche. Is because they lack that crypto knowledge and the first-hand experience, which is, I believe, something critical, as important as your traditional tax and accounting knowledge. I would say no less important than that. Therefore, I make the rule that every single person we hire for doing crypto-related work in our firm must personally be a crypto investor with experience. And so during the interview, we would ask them about their personal crypto experience and test them on their knowledge, whether they know what is liquidity pool, have they heard of this or that, how does this thing work, have they dealt with any NFT, do they know anything like that. So that is very important. So 100% of our people are in crypto. So that's a little bit rare for an accounting firm, I would say. And also we required a rigorous training. And of course, because this space is still pretty new, we couldn't find anything out there that can provide this kind of in-depth systematic. So I'm the one who created. I'm very passionate about education. So I'm in charge of like learning all the stuff and then creating a training for our people. So our people are very well trained, and of course, because first of all, they are passionate about crypto. We are all just nerds, talking about crypto all day long, and we don't get tired of it. That's the thing. So personally, we are in crypto. Professionally, we are in crypto. We are never tired of it. All right. So every time when there's a new tool, such as like you mentioned about Etherscan, we use Etherscan a lot because many people have, I would say probably all our clients have, if they have a wallet, most likely it's a Ethereum wallet, even though for a lot of our clients are also doing on other chains like Polygon chain, Binance chain, all those popular chains, and doing a lot of cross-chain transactions. But still, we use different block explorers, and Etherscan being one of the most popular one. Of course, in order to get all the transaction data correctly import into the crypto tax software that we use, we have to understand the tool and know where to look and how to interpret transaction data on blockchain explorers. So that's what we do. Yeah. So we do have a very high requirement for our people.
Oh, that's amazing. And again, another reason why the partnership between Arbor and Polygon, and I kind of want to dovetail this now into the last section about Polygon, kind of the problems y'all are solving and kind of the people. I want to focus now on the people you serve. We've talked a lot about individual investors who, are trading, maybe and investing on their own. But talk to us about, and maybe I'll set this up too, and how we think about it, because we've talked about this a little bit. We really have three different types of groups when we think about people who need to think about taxes. One, it's your general crypto investors. These are your simple investors. They're maybe trading in spot markets on a centralized exchange. They may send some to a wallet and just do some spot trading on, a decentralized backend like a Uniswap or just straight through their MetaMask wallet. Whatever the case is, it's more simple, just buy and sell. Nothing crazy to write home about. Then you have your other end of the spectrum. These are your crypto power users and your developers, the people working, living, and breathing in this space, either as an investor or a value producer. And these people either earn in it or they're going cross-chain, they're yield farming, going into liquidity pools. These are your complex users of in the crypto economy. And then we have your middle of the road. It's kind of like they're kind of on the cusp of going into that crypto where they're power users, but they're still just kind of on that education journey. So the one thing we had trouble with finding was a service provider in the tax realm that understood all three. And that's, again, what really got to us about the partnership. And we did about a year and a half due diligence on other CPA firms or people who were building in this space, specifically tax services. So talk to me a little bit how the different types of clients that you all serve, not just the individual investor, but who else have you seen and what has come to you guys now that you've been in business for a couple of years?
Yeah, so we have seen all all of them. Of course, in the beginning, when we first started out, we were still small, and we didn't have a lot of experience. So in the beginning, we serve mostly people, I would say, on the lower end, which are mostly people who have been just doing some regular activities, like just regular trades, transferring coins, or maybe using some swaps, decentralized, just to swap some coins, nothing too crazy. And of course, as we continue to expand and our knowledge continues to increase, and the team bigger, more people, more experience, we started to get more and more complicated cases into the door. So we have people in the middle, like you said, getting into some, like buying NFTs, trying out like some staking, liquidity pools a little bit. And we also have clients who are professional traders who are crazy, like have tons of transactions. So so far, if I remember correctly, the client that has the most transactions, I think they have over 2 million transactions in a year. And the client who has the,
I think we need to pause there just for, let that linger for just a second. 2 million transactions?
yep,
Man.
in a
Okay.
year.
Yeah.
And the person who the client who has the most number of accounts is a mix of centralized exchanges, DAX, wallets, and all different platforms. I think is like over 130 accounts. So just with that volume, of course, the number of transactions with so many accounts is also in the millions. And also the type of activities is like anything you can think of that the clients would do it. So like crypto gaming, gambling, flash loans, arbitrage, anything you can think of, they would do it. Yeah, just because they are so crazy, and this is their full-time job. And usually for people who are full-time in crypto, who are doing this, like that's the only thing now they do, they may want to consider forming an entity. So part of our services is to also help people to do some planning, tax planning strategies, to see whether it makes sense for them to actually form an entity. It's mostly for two main reasons. One is legal protection. If all their assets, their wealth, they're mainly in crypto, and unlike, as you already know, that's your expertise, unlike using like a bank or a traditional brokerage firm, using exchanges and wallets, all those things, other than that person, almost nobody else can get into it or know how to do it, right? So they need to have a lot of planning. So we help them with that to look into, and that's why we tear up with other professionals. I usually call it a golden triangle, which is a CPA firm, a financial service firm, usually a financial advisory firm, and a law firm all together, because it gets into your investment strategy. With so much wealth, we have many crypto millionaire clients, and because they all started very early, and then they are very good at investing in crypto, they became multimillionaires. And that's the time we say, hey, you need to start thinking about, do you have a will? Do you have an advisor who can help you? I mean, unless they are professional, maybe they can handle it on their own. But for people who are active investors and they became very successful, but they have their own thing going on, either another job or they have a different business, has nothing to do with crypto, then maybe that's the time, maybe they want to get a professional investment advisor to help them with that. But usually they say, oh, well, I do have a financial advisor, but they don't know anything about crypto. So that's why we are very excited, that we can have this partnership, that we now know you guys, that you are doing this. I think this is a much needed service that people similar to crypto tax specialists, it's not easy to find a financial advisor who is deep in crypto. But anyway, so I guess what I'm trying to say here is that we try to help our clients to look at the whole thing, not just one small piece. And we do serve a different kind of clients, from more simple situation to very complicated situation. However, as we grow and our client needs continue to evolve, we realize that with our expertise, we would like to focus more on the higher end going forward. So for people who still have the need but doing more regular trading, that kind of activities, we created an online course. It's a DIY, do it yourself online course to help people by offering step-by-step instructions to teach them how to use a crypto software to get their own reconciliation and crypto tax calculation done. So that's how we can also still take care of people, and then at the same time, focus on offering our services to people who have a lot more complicated situations.
Man, I could talk so much about the program and all of the resources, but we are coming up on time. But what I will say is that the most important thing is being able to service all types of clients. One of the things about this industry and this entire, I guess I'll call it the cultural movement of it, is that this is accessible to everyone. And we have to be able to service everyone, whether, and I think that's something I get excited about from a value standpoint. I come from a traditional background where, it's not all inclusive, right? There are a lot of people. And if you're sitting there saying, yes, it is, then the first thing I'll tell you is check your privilege. And the second thing is maybe open your mind up to try to find people, like actively go out there and try to find people who have been excluded and hear their side of the story. And that's something that I think that I've gotten a lot more of since coming into this. And it's totally changed a lot of my views on so many things and a lot of things that I took for granted. So I know that you all come from that, again, very client centric. I love that. And that's where I think for us and as a full service package, we need people who understand that and bring that. So I think that's where this is going to be a good partnership moving forward. So whether you're a DIY or, you're doing simple things or you're in the middle or you're somebody complex, don't be shy. Reach out to Polygon, reach out to us. We can get you connected. We get you the service you need to help you avoid some of the pitfalls. And there's a whole lot more of them that we haven't even talked about, but you're going to see a lot more content from Polygon and Arbor coming out in the future. So hopefully we'll dive into a lot more of that. But Sharon, what I'd like to do to end off this episode is talk a little bit about get some people excited, right? Why are you excited about this space? What should people be excited about?
I think what is excited about this space is really this is the future, right? So many people are now talking about Web3, talking about the whole industry, the blockchain space, and more businesses are moving into the space. And there are some unique entity types such as DAO, and other things that never had before. So this is our future. I would say what makes me excited is about also the opportunities that we can get from cryptocurrency, because one of the main reasons that I believe Bitcoin was created is to allow people to transact without a central third party, meaning at that time to use a digital currency to replace the traditional currency, which is kind of like being controlled by like the banking system, the government, and everything like that. So it's to give the power back to people. So you can completely control your own finance. You don't have to rely on the banking system, and you have to pay a high fee for example, sending money to your family or relatives overseas. It takes time and a lot of cost involved. Sending a crypto to someone outside the US is like instant, and it's like the cost is very low. And also like the whole decentralized finance space, like DeFi, all kinds of. It's truly fascinating looking at all the new products, like the whole liquidity pool, all the DeFi space, and also with the NFT. That's what excites us. Is something almost like every day there is something new. Of course, that's a big challenge. So we are still trying to catch up. It's almost like you can never catch up. Once you learn one thing, there's something new there. And it's super complicated. So it requires a lot of knowledge, brain power to get an understanding. And then also the tools at this point, still not just us. I know the whole software industry crypto software more specifically, also is trying to catch up with or getting the data, all kinds of crazy platforms, things. I think that is something that is all at the same time, if you're truly passionate about this, that will get you excited as well. So it always challenges. And there's a saying, actually, challenges are an opportunity. And I do believe in that.
Wow. I couldn't have said any of that any better than you just did. So I appreciate you going into it. I hope I'm jazzed. You got me excited. Okay. So I'm hoping if you're listening, you got even a little bit more excited about crypto again. Well, Sharon, it's been a pleasure. I do like to end our conversations with a little bit of unprepared questions. They're quick.
Sure.
I call them quick fire questions. So you can answer in one word or one phrase, but they're just meant to give me what comes immediately into your mind when I ask them. Are you game to do that with me here?
Oh yeah, let's give it a try.
Okay, great. So my first quick fire is always one more about you and kind of your learning. What's a learning you've taken from your younger self that you take to your adult version of yourself?
Don't just bring a problem to someone. Always come up with a solution, at least like a possible solution when you tell someone about a problem.
Oh, I love that. What is one thing that crypto or digital asset detractors get right about the space?
I'm sorry, I didn't get that word.
So people who are against crypto,
what
do they get right? What is something they get right about the space?
Extremely highly risky.
Love it. What is a resource? So you mentioned in the episode you read everything. Bitcoin was your primary thing. What's a resource that you think every person who wants to get into this space needs to consume?
Reliable advice, meaning advice from experts, not just what you read on the internet.
I love that. And thankfully, more and more experts like you are coming into this space to be able to give those resources to people. Well, my last one is always around, again, more of the human side, is take me through, what are you most excited about in this space as someone who's personally involved in it?
Helping people. That's all we are about.
Love it. Wonderful. Sharon, thank you so much for going through that. Thank you for being on the episode today. For those who don't know you, we're going to put some links in the show notes, but where can people find you if they want to get to know you, Polygon, or the rest of the team?
So I am on like LinkedIn, Twitter, those social media platforms, but they can also contact me by emailing me directly. So it's very easy to remember. My email address is just Sharon, my first name, and then at polygonadvisory.com.
Wonderful. And I'll do the last plug here. We are going to be collaborating on a 2023 crypto tax landscape webinar for Wednesday, March 8th, I believe. That's going to be from 2 p.m. Central to 3 p.m. Central. So if you're listening to this, go to our website, go to Polygon's website, go wherever you need to register for the webinar, because that's where we're going to do a much deeper dive onto the specifics of what investors need to know, what people who are engaging in the space need to know from a tax perspective, and what you should be thinking about prior to all of the things that you're going to go out and do in that crypto world. So again, Sharon, it was an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for being here. And to the audience, thank you so much for joining us on this edition of the Asset Revolution podcast. Be sure to tell somebody today that you care about them, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
We appreciate you listening to this edition of the Asset Revolution podcast. I'm your host, Marc Nichols. Please don't forget to let us know how you like the show by rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you like to listen. For more downloadable digital asset resources and educational opportunities, please visit us at arbordigital.io. We are here to help you get off zero safely and securely. Thanks again for tuning in, and be sure to tell someone you care about them. Cheers.
Financial advisor, unless you're under contract with or actively speaking with Arbor Capital Management or Arbor Digital, a division of Arbor Capital Management. This podcast is just that, a podcast. It is not financial, legal, or tax advice. If you have individual questions, please reach out.